Hello everyone, Resonance here, and today I have something a little different for you guys. I'm going to be casting a replay of a 1v1 Arabia match that I played earlier this week against one of my viewers. Now just to clarify, while I do know a lot about the game, I haven't really played Aoe2 seriously in many years. I still play the game regularly of course, but I play purely for fun nowadays, rather than to grind the ladder. That's why my rating is so low, because I never really play rated matches anymore. Part of this has to do with how difficult it is to play well when commentating and reading the Twitch chat. If I wanted to concentrate on playing well, then I wouldn't be able to interact with you guys as much, which for me is easily my favorite part of making videos. The focus of my videos is for the most part on the commentary and helping you guys get to a level of play in which you are comfortable at. I always remember how difficult it was for me to learn this game when I was starting out, so through analyzing what went right and what went wrong in this replay, I should be able to improve your understanding of the game a bit. If you know me, you're probably aware that I'm primarily a Black Forest player, so Arabia is not necessarily my specialty. Throughout this video, I'll be walking you all through the thought process behind my decisions, as well as going over in detail what my opponent and I did right and what we did wrong. Hopefully you all find this both entertaining and informative. Alright, well let's jump straight into this, shall we? My opponent for this match was Laxatory, who I believe is around 1680-ish rating, and of course this is a 1v1 Huns Mirror Match on the map Arabia, on the Forgotten expansion pack for Age of Empires 2 HD Edition. Alright, so let's take a look at this. If you were curious why there's like a little bit of, delay between, the things that I input and then when they actually happen, is because there was a little bit of lag in this particular match. I'm kind of used to it, of course, but that's why some things aren't, I guess, as fluid as they ought to be. But anyway, for the most part, I take the 3 villagers that I have to start, and I'm going to task these onto the trees. Why am I going to do this? Well, because I haven't found my sheep yet, and it's important to not have my villagers idle at all if I can help it. And then, as you can see, I'm going to swing around in like a circle around my town center with my scout to try and find the nearest clump of sheep, and I found them right now. So I'm going to go task them underneath my town center, and during this time, again, I'm harvesting all of this wood, so that way, again, I'm making good use of the time that I have, and then I'll be scouting with these sheep as well during that. And then I'm going to get my sheep centered nicely under my town center, that way so my villagers, when they go to drop off the food to the town center, they just have to stand up, and they don't have to actually, walk any distance. It's the little things that really do count if you're trying to make a difference here, and this game is really, this match is a prime example of how making tons and tons of tiny inefficiencies and errors can really screw you up. So this is a pretty solid example of that, and you can see there I took my villagers and I right-clicked my town center to force them to drop off their food. That way I can continue my villager production. I want to be producing a villager every time I can. I want my town center to always be either researching something or creating a villager. Now, I'm putting my lumber camp here because, again, I don't really have a much better forest. I didn't scout one in the back, and putting it over there, I thought it would be much harder to defend. But I chose to put my lumber camp right here because this forest is relatively close to the edge of the map, so I figured I can wall this off really quickly, right? And that'll make it a lot harder for him to get into my wood line and zone me off that with some of his military units, of course. I traded 49 food here, but do another force drop-off in its case. We're going to put 3 villagers on the lumber camp. Pretty standard opening, 6 villagers on sheep, which is, again, as many villagers as you need to keep your food production rolling, because I want my town centers to always be making vills. And we put 3 on wood here to get a little bit of wood stockpiling. But yeah, I could wall this area off, and then he can't bring guys over here now and then zone me off there. He'd have to come through here. And I saw this cliff here as well, and I realized that this area can be walled off rather easily, and my wood line can be pretty nicely defended. And I can also put a wall over here as well. I had an interesting sort of map generation, I guess. It's unfortunate because, all of my gold is at the front, which is bad, but I did have this actually pretty decent wood line back here, and then I guess 2 stone mines, although this one's pretty difficult to saturate because it's stuck inside the trees. So I'm just making a couple more villagers here. I shoot that boar twice, and then I lure it underneath my town center. That way, again, I don't want my villagers to have to walk any place to drop that food off, so it saves me some time. I got loom before I hunt my boar because, again, there's a little bit of lag in these matches, so that's why there's some sort of micro mistakes that do happen at some point. Mostly because, yeah, there's quite a bit of delay, and it's better safe than sorry in my mind. Of course, if your match is running very smoothly, then delaying loom can be a very good way to get yourself a little bit of an extra boost. Researching loom, it basically takes the same amount of time as producing villagers, so if I didn't have to research loom there, then I would have had 1 extra villager. Which, again, the little things really do make the difference. And speaking of the little things, you'll notice that Laxatory is chatting a lot in this particular match. He's you know, pressing the enter key and he's typing messages. That really does set him behind. As funny as it is, you know, those extra few seconds that he's spending pressing the enter key, not focusing on the game, he's thinking of what he wants to say, he's turning on his caps lock. That really does matter. That adds up. He sends a lot of messages in chat this game, and if you're actually trying to play a serious match, your focus should be 100% dedicated on the game itself. And again, you know, that's why when, like, if I'm trying to, like, read the Twitch chat and commentate, it's hard for me to play well. Because, again, my focus is divided, and the last thing you want to do is, if you're playing, like a 1v1, is just typing, you know, in chat all the time. If you wanted to communicate with your teammates, voice chat is much, much, much better. But, there's no real reason to send messages to the enemy in a 1v1 if you want to win, because, again, it adds up a couple seconds. Like, you can't really tell because it's a replay, but, like, I am moving the screen everywhere, like, when I was playing this match. Like, I'm always doing something, trying to optimally get everything sorted out, so it's the little things that really do matter. And, you know, I'm gonna get my next war right now. So, my thought process in this particular match was, this is a Huns Mirror Match. I realized that my map, you know, I have a safe wood line, but I don't have safe gold. Like, my main gold is, you know, in the middle of nowhere. It's incredibly hard to defend. There's, like, a forest over here, but again, there's no real way I can wall this. I have, like, a little bit of a hill here, but again, it's not looking particularly great. I can kind of wall my map up, but I really think that going for, like, a feudal war here is the better idea. There's no point in me fast castling if I don't have access to gold. If you want to go for fast castle age, you want to get out some of those really expensive units like knights, cavalry archers, etc. Fast, expensive gold costing units to go raid your opponent's economy. But, you know, my gold's not necessarily safe, so that wasn't really the plan here. I look at the map and I'm like, well, I probably should go for a feudal war just to be safe. Just to be safe, definitely. And as you can see, I am walling this area off right now. Now, I do go, honestly, a little bit overboard with the walling this particular match. But, you know, I'm kind of a defensive player. I was a little paranoid this match, and better safe than sorry, I suppose. The way I have my economy set up, you know, since I've decided that I'm going to try and do some damage to him in the Feudal Age, I'm going to advance with a lot less villagers than I normally would for a fast castle age, so we're going to advance, you know, with like 21 to 22 population. I decided to advance to 22 population because why not? I wanted, like, that extra villager, because I figured he'd go up at, like, 21 pop anyway. Which it turns out that he does. So yeah, I have my economy set up so that everything is on food and everything is on wood, and as you can see, you know, right before I click up to the next age, I have almost everything on food. That way it ensures that, you know, I have that much food at that time. I think a mistake that a lot of players will make is that they will, like, get really good at fast castling, and they'll, like, be accustomed to putting villagers on gold or something like that in the Dark Age, and then that will really, really cripple their Feudal Age time if you actually want to go for some Feudal Age aggression. Ideally, you want to really put everything primarily on food and wood, and if you're mining any minerals in the Dark Age, you're either fast castling or up to something sneaky like a tower rush, perhaps. So I'm going to take all these villagers now over here after, you know, a little bit of a delay waiting for them to respond, and we're going to go build another lumber camp over here. Again, this is a really, really safe wood area. I could have built the lumber camp right here, but again, I'm assuming that Laxatory is, like, exactly, like, in this area, right? He should be, like, across from me. And putting my wood right here, you know, it's pretty vulnerable. It's at the front of my base. It's able to be harassed. I could put a lumber camp over here, but that's so far from my town center, it doesn't really make any sense, and it would be very hard for me to defend that. Still, it's vulnerable. It's at the front of my base. This area is safe. So that's the idea here. I have my walls far enough back as well that archers will not be in range of these villagers, and I'm going to go wall this area off as well. So my wood is really, really safe. Now, I probably didn't need to do this, but just in case he came in with, like, scouts or something like that, and he wanted to, like, sweep through here and just go straight for my wood line, you know, in a straight line, basically, then I wanted to wall this area off as well and force him to walk underneath my town center. Because in the early game, your units are so weak that you can't really kill anybody. The goal is to maim, not to kill. You want to zone your opponent off his resources, poke their villagers, but you can't really blow up their town center, and the town center is super, super powerful. You kind of want to use it as like a makeshift ghetto gate, you know? Force your opponent to create choke points with walls and buildings, and force your opponent to have to walk underneath your town center and take a ton of free damage. Now, one thing I most certainly should have done here, and this was a big mistake on my part, is I should have immediately started producing Spearmen when I advanced. I'm putting down my archer range right now because I was thinking of going for, like, Skirmishers and Spearmen, to start, and then transition to archers or something later. As you can see, I'm walling this area off right now just in case he wants to sweep in with scouts. And I'm producing a spearman now, but I should have done that immediately. Another thing that I do that I didn't think he did, although I might be wrong, is I got double bit axe the moment that I advance. And I find this helps quite a bit if you're going for some wood-heavy units. And since I decided I was not going to go with scouts, and I was going to go with like spear skirms and then into archers, then getting double bit axe really did give me a big advantage. Now the thing is here is because I only produced one spearman, and I wasn't really focusing on spearman production right now. I mean, I scouted it. Did I scout his base yet? Yeah, okay. I scouted his base like a second ago, and I noticed that there was a stable there. And so, if I was producing spearmen prior, that would have been a good idea. Because now I'm only going to have like 2 out by the time that his scouts get here, and that is no good. However, I do wall off my entire wood area here. And again, probably went a teeny bit overboard on the walling, but it really did pay off. He doesn't really get to do anything to my wood line here. And even though he can still, poke these villas with archers, it doesn't matter. He's got a stable. And scouting in these 1v1s is so very important, and that's something that easily the biggest thing that I could personally improve on in these 1v1 Arabia matches, or just really 1v1s in general, is scouting. Scouting is huge, and it wins games. Like, Aoe2 is a game of counters. If you know what your opponent is going to do strategy-wise, or what units he's going to build, you are going to crush him. The counters in this game are very serious. Like getting out a spearman, the spearman kills a scout in like 3 hits, so it's ginormously, it's really in your advantage to scout your opponent, so make sure you keep doing that. I didn't do a particularly great job of continuously scouting him, because again, my focus was on other things, but I definitely could have been using my scout this time. I made a really big mistake here, and I didn't see his scouts, so I was considering just pushing out to go harass him with these 3 guys. So I moved my units really out of position. That was really dumb. Don't do that. What I should have done was I should have waited until I had like a couple more guys, or I should have at least left my spearmen at my forage bushes. Because right now, even though he doesn't kill any villagers, he forces a ton of my villagers off the line. That's idle time. Like for those like 20-30 seconds that my villagers are just sitting around and not responding because of lag, they might as well be dead, right? Like, they're not doing anything at all. So it's really important that when you think your opponent is going scouts, if you scout that, or you can just do this in general, is just make a couple of spearmen, is leave your spearmen at your external villagers, your villagers that are vulnerable to raiding. I have a spearman stationed here right now, on defensive, spearmen stationed at my gold, because these are where the villagers are vulnerable. But I should not have pulled them over in this direction initially. That was a big mistake. So now he can't really do anything with his scouts. I have my wood completely walled off. There's no way he can deal with that at all. And if he wants to go raid my forage bush people, then they're going to be stabbed to death with a spearman. And sure, he could kill this one spearman, but it doesn't matter because I have more over here. And right now I'm just protecting my external resources. I'm making a couple more spears, and his scout rush is completely useless. This has set him back a lot. That's the thing, is this is a lot of food right here. Like, each scout is 80 food. That's 320 food floating around right here, accomplishing absolutely nothing. And now I've got spearmen stationed just about everywhere, and I'm in a pretty decent position. Which he acknowledges. So I'm going to go put down another archer range here, and I'm starting to work on my gold because I want to transition to archers. Why? Well, because skirmishers and spearmen are fine and dandy. However, they cost food and wood, and that is really going to delay my castle age. Another really common mistake that players make is that they will, focus too much on their feudal age, fighting it out with their opponent, and then they're going to not advance to castle age in time. Tech advantage is everything, and the advantage that you get from being in the castle age when your opponent is in the feudal age is absolutely massive. Absolutely massive. Feudal age units cannot compete with castle age units, and ideally you want to be the first one to the castle age. So archers don't cost food, and food is of course the most important resource that you need to get to the castle age. Castle age costs 800 food, 200 gold. So by creating archers, you're going to allow yourself to stockpile on food, which you wouldn't be able to do if you built skirmishers and spearmen, and that way you can just get straight to the castle age and then ruin your opponent's day. Now, again, with a little bit of the delay here, I am going to lose quite a few units here for free, but again, I got to zone off all of his guys off the wood line, so that wasn't so bad. I lost like 2 skirmishers and an archer, not a big deal. I would say it was mostly worth it, because I did kill a villager as well, I believe. But I probably could have pulled the guys back sooner, they just weren't responding. As you can see, this is a result of a little bit of a delay. Anyway, massing the guys out here. I got my blacksmith out because I really do need that fletching, and this entire time we're pumping villagers out. I got wheelbarrow a little bit ago, of course, because you want to get that when you have somewhere in the realm of like 30 plus villagers. That's when it becomes more efficient than just simply producing more villagers. And right now, I've just got a pretty big advantage on them. I mean, if you look at the population, like I'm ahead by a solid, it looks like 8 or something like that. I'm ahead by a pretty decent margin. Again, because I've been producing villas this entire time, and, well, I honestly just have a more efficient army than him. His 4 scouts have done absolutely nothing this game. Now, I'm not 100% sure what he should have done about that, but I mean, he could just pull his scouts away from his actual army and just try and do a little bit of harassment, draw my attention away. But right now, I just have a pretty decent advantage on him, and he doesn't have fletching it either, so he's going to have to put down his blacksmiths, which he's doing now. I guess another thing that kind of matters is his building placement is a little wonky. I mean, this wall-off is kind of nice, but as you can tell, you know, he can't saturate this gold mine completely because of his building placement, because of his barracks right there. Now, this is a really, really good fight for me. He wanted to take this fight, and that was a big mistake on his part. It might have looked like I was at, like, a disadvantage initially, and that's exactly what I wanted to think. But through focus firing his units, I would select all of my guys, right, and I would click one unit, so that way my units don't fire several units at once. That way I could kill his units quicker, because he wasn't doing that. And that is super duper important in these early game fights. Not only that, I knew I had a couple skirmishers, and he had a bunch of archers. I also had fletching. So even though he had what appeared to be a larger size army, he could not win that fight. And that's a big part of Aoe2, and that's probably the hardest part, or one of the hardest parts of the game, is knowing what fights you can and can't take, and that just takes experience, honestly. And in that case, I knew I could win that fight. I had a couple spearmen in there. I just had to focus the right units. And the important thing is, and I don't know if you guys got to see that there, is I focused his scouts with my spearmen. I focused his archers with my skirmishers. You use counters on counters. And this is when, like, again, the little bit of control really, really does matter. Arabia is really, like, all about the little things that count. Now, unfortunately, I am going to, like, mismicro this spearman here and lose it for free, but I do get to kill this villager, I do believe, yes, so that's okay. I'm gonna send this scout in here, and then I'm gonna send the spearman in here, kill that scout. I'm in a really commanding position here. I get to zone him off the wood line. I know I'm in a military advantage here, so I'm gonna keep exploiting it. Because I have a couple skirmishers in here, it doesn't matter if he has more archers than me. It doesn't matter, I will win that fight. So this is very, very good. I'm gonna zone him off the wood line, and like I said earlier, you can't kill anybody with your Feudal Age army. Don't delude yourself into that. Stay away from the enemy town center. That's not gonna happen. You can't do that. You're just trying to zone your opponent off his external resources. Zone him off his wood, zone him off his gold. Now, I pulled back here because I noticed he has a lot of archers, although in retrospect I probably could have kept the pressure on. But I realized that I'm a pretty greedy player, honestly. I realized I had a pretty solid military advantage at this point, and that I was really close to getting to the castle age, so as you can see I'm putting down my market here. I got my spearmen patrolling, putting down another archer range. I just wanted to go straight into cav archers and just try and boom up a bit off this. Because, you know, I didn't really trust myself necessarily that I would be able to take the game at this point. I wanted to take it into the late game because I'm like a macro-oriented player. I've played Black Forest, like, I used to play it all the time, I still do. And that's something I'm good at, that's something I can do really well, is boom. And I'm really confident in my ability to outboom most players, so I figured, you know, why not? We'll play a little defensively here, we'll pull back a bit, and we're gonna make he's gonna give me a foot, and I'm gonna take a mile, you know? I turn every little advantage into as big of one as possible. Now, I am going to try and poke a little bit here for kicks, just to try and contain him, because I don't want him to, I'm pulling back again because I don't want to be in his town center range. I want to contain him in his base. I don't want him to be able to pull out of his base and start harassing me, because that's... The player, honestly, that has map control is usually the one that wins. The player that is containing the opponent in his base is the one that usually comes out on top. Now, I pulled back as well because not only did I realize that he had relatively equal numbers to me, I might have had skirmishers, but it doesn't matter. He has padded archer armor now that he got from his blacksmith. This is important. This means that the fight is not going to be necessarily as close to me. And this is, okay, this is a big thing. I'm getting so many little advantages over him because he's chatting a lot, as well as his building placement. Like, he is not able to properly saturate this gold mine because, look at his villagers just getting bunched up on each other. That's because this barracks is in the way, some of these mining camps are a little too close. He could probably have backed up this mining camp like one tile back. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this fight right now and just basically decimate him. I'm sending in my scout from behind as a little bit of a surprise dealio. Focus firing a bit, he's trying to sidestep, doesn't matter. I have him basically surrounded here, that's why I've got these archers over here and these archers over here, so if he wants to pull over in this direction, he's just going to die. And I was wondering how I'm doing this. It's again because he gives me an inch, I take a mile. His villagers have been relatively inefficient on this gold mine here, and he's been taking fights that honestly haven't been that great to him. And his scout rush initially failed. He's done a lot of things that have really set him behind. That and like I've been creating villagers this entire time. I got my techs at the right time. I got my horse collar. I got my double bit axe immediately. I got horse collar immediately as soon as I could. I got my wheelbarrow. You know, he's basically calling it quits at this point because I've finally zoned him off his gold. And that's pretty much all she wrote. Another thing here is that this is massively inefficient for his villagers. Again, little things really do add up. His villagers have to walk so far to go drop their wood off, he needs to make another lumber camp here stat. This wood line is just way too saturated. And I'm getting these little advantages because, look, my lumber camp is right here. I'm getting these tiny, tiny advantages because of, like, small inefficiencies in his play that could be corrected. And that's really what matters in the end here. I've got my padded archer armor now, and I'm going to start transitioning to cav archers. I'm putting a town center here because, again, protecting your main gold is super duper important. That gold, I can't really hope to compete with him. I was prepping for this game to drag out a little bit more, but that does not appear to be the case. I pull back here because, again, I'm trying to 100% guarantee my win. I feel like I don't have to take a fight here. I'm in no position where I'm forced to engage him. I might as well just exploit the fact I'm in the castle age, and I know that he's not, and I know that he's really not able to advance anytime soon either. So the longer that I stay in the castle age and that he's in the feudal age, the more likely I am to win. So I know there's really no reason for me to risk screwing up one of these fights and just taking it right now. And I wanted to get just a couple more guys out, just to ensure, just to guarantee it and take as little risk as possible. I of course got that what is that, two-man saw? Yeah, two-man saw as soon as I could when I advanced. And you can see I'm saturating this gold. Now, my villagers aren't getting bunched up on each other. This is important because, again, I'm leaving space between my mining camp and villagers. Now, some of them are getting a little bit bunched up, and I probably could have had this mining camp space back one tile. But it's not as bad as what he had to deal with all game because they were all getting bunched up on his barracks. So it's just important to keep an eye on your villagers because your villagers are going to do really stupid crap if you're not watching them. So make sure you task them to the appropriate piles. Now, I'm going to go in now to zone him off his gold when... because now I have, well, crossbowmen, I have bodkin arrow. Now I know there's literally, I couldn't possibly screw this up. I have thrown the unthrowable matches, but this one I know I can't throw at this point, so I figured, why not, I'll go in, and he promptly does resign. So, the moral of this story here is that, one, when you're attacking, you gotta keep your villager production up. The economy is super duper important, and I just had my economy managed just a teeny bit better than him. I guess I've just played more matches so that my villagers were just assigned properly, but villager placement is really important. Walling off, I basically got my wood line was invincible this game. And, this was a good position for a palisade wall because I can't slip any archers behind. But, I mean, his gold was right out in the open. This wood was right out in the open. He didn't do a single thing to protect it. And that was huge. I mean, I basically won the game when I got to zone him off this specific wood line. And then I most certainly won the game when I got to zone him off his main gold. So what I was surprised about is that he put his archer ranges back here. This building placement doesn't make that much sense to me. Like, these buildings could be placed over here. He could have really made it difficult for me to harass this wood line. He could have put a bunch of stuff like right here, and he could have walled this off with palisades. He has one palisade wall, and that's not going to cut it, unfortunately. He did play really well, though. I'm not going to lie. I mean, this wasn't a very close match, I guess, but it was a pretty good example of how Arabian matches should be going. And if I make sure next time to keep my units in the right position, and again, not task them away when I know there might be scouts coming. You gotta keep your spearmen next to your external resources. I always recommend that if you know scouts are coming. So if I don't do that, and I scout better, because I really didn't scout very well this particular match, this match would have been even more one-sided. So really what it boils down to is that Laxatory has a very good understanding of the basics, but what he needs to do is he needs to watch his building placement a lot more and really design his base in like a very, very strategic manner. This wood line was so vulnerable here. Like, by the time he starts putting this archer range here, because again, he's trying to make use of the terrain to try and, do a little bit of walling off, it was too little too late. He could have just palisaded off this entire area. He could have built a palisade from here to that tree, and then just forced me, to walk near his town center. And that would have been oh so worth it, even though it cost him a bit of wood, it means that his villas aren't idle. Also, the walking distance here, the drop-off distance is massive, and the villagers getting clumped up on here really do matter. That and just taking fights that you can and can't win. You have to be really careful about that. Pay attention to the upgrades of the opponent and pay attention to the what units they have. I had counters to the units that he had, and that's why I won those fights. I had Skirmishers when he had Archers. I had Spearmen when he had Scouts. He just had Archers, so he was not going to win those straight-up fights, and that's why I threw in a couple extra Skirmishers. Not only that, I was focus firing his units with the counters, so micromanagement, very, very important in this regard. It was a pretty close match up until the end, but that's just because, again, the little mistakes that you make early on, they really, really do matter. And just try and focus, I guess, on the game a little bit, you know. If you're chatting with your opponent all the time, you are probably going to lose the game. Alright, anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this match and you found it informative, entertaining, and whatnot. Of course, if you did, I have plenty of other matches on my YouTube channel that you might also enjoy. And of course, I do live stream regularly, so I would love to see you all there. Also, videos for other games as well, which you might like. So let's check out the achievements a bit. But yeah, this is something that I was doing, you know, for a little bit of a different change of pace, especially because my internet's been a little wonky recently, so I've been having to postpone a bit of my live streaming. I wanted to bring you guys something a little bit different, because you guys have been asking me, it's like, hey, can we see you do a 1v1? You know, like, we see something standard, like, not a 4v4 or something like that? I was like, well, sure. I'm usually pretty busy, and my allergies are, like, you know, kicking my ass in the spring, so I don't really get a chance to record too much stuff outside of the stream, but I wanted to do this for you guys, especially as my thanks for helping me get all the way to 6,000 subscribers. You guys have, of course, been really awesome and supportive, and it's you know, a pleasure to see the new faces as much as it is to see the same old guys that I've had since the dawn of time. So, watching my channel grow has been very, very, very cool, and I hope to continue bringing you guys awesome content. Really, I'm quite blessed in that regard, because really most of my comments that I get on my videos, and of course I do read all of them, are actually pretty cool comments, and the Twitch chat is always hilarious to read, so yeah, you guys are great to have around, so thank you. And yeah, as you can tell, there's little advantages here. It was really close initially, and in fact he had a score advantage at one point. Didn't matter! I eventually pulled that one out. So anyway, hope you all enjoyed this. I've got plenty of other new stuff on the way as well, so again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. GG Laxatori, it was a pleasure playing against you, and it's always fun to have you around, man. You played well.